great to see what's happening across the region. Hopefully we've gleaned some ideas for what we could do. But look, I just, moving on to our next talk, is a conversation very dear to my heart, weed bins. Many years ago, I was involved in a group called Langholm Weed Free, and at the time we did have support from Chris Perkins, and one of the conundrums that we had in Langholm, which I would say Langholm is the weediest place in Auckland, is that we didn't know what to do with our weeds. And so Chris very kindly said, well, council can support you, we can provide weed bins. And hence the start of weed bins in Waitākere Ranges. But times are moving on and there's a few complexities around weed bins. So we're actually going to ask for some conversation from you. We're actually I'm inviting Melissa from EcoMatters. EcoMatters helps manage the weed bins on behalf of the Waitākere Ranges local board who funds it. And Ruairi's here, conservation advisor to support Mel. Mel, no mai hara mai.
Cool, kia ora koutou. My name's Melissa. Thanks Pam for the introduction. Like Pam said, I am from EcoMatters Environment Trust. I work as part of the nature team there. On several different projects, one of the projects being the Waitākere Ranges local board funded community weed bin project. Hopefully you guys all know or have used or supported the bins in the past and now currently. The bins, for anyone who doesn't know, they're located, we have two permanent bin sites, one in Huia Domain, which is on the waterfront there, one in Piha Domain, which sits within the domain, and those are permanent bin sites. They're there pretty much for most of the year, and as the bins are filled, then they're exchanged timely. We have also have 4 amnesty bin sites. So those bin sites are located in Kuwhai Reserve in Glen Eden, Mountain Road in Henderson Valley, the Waitarua Community Hall car park and the Langholm Community Hall car park. So those bins aren't there all the time. They're there about every second month. They get weekend bins, and we've allowed it so that if the bins don't get filled on the weekends, they're there for a little bit longer until the bins are actually full. They are only advertised for a weekend, but we've got a message out to extend those bins so that they can stay there until they're actually utilised. So basically my role with the community weed bins is to organise the bins, delivery, exchanges, and work with the community to enable the bins to be used correctly. I work quite closely with Peter through Pest Free Piha, who have been really working very hard to ensure that we get the right types of weeds in the bin. I don't know if you've heard in the past, but the bins can have a number of things put in them. I mean, obviously they're for environmental weeds, that's what we're trying to target, but they often get garden waste, inorganic dumpings,
from time to time.
Grass clippings. We have cases where we have people who run their own businesses and go in the cloak of darkness and fill the bins up. Yeah, there's a number of different complexities with the bins, but one that's quite front of mind is the big black plastic liner that goes in the bin. I don't know if you all know what that's for. Does everybody here know why we line the rubber?
No. So it's sort of like a landfill now rather than being composted.
Okay. Yeah. In the past, have the weeds actually ever been composted? Or have they?
I think maybe in the past they might have separated the weeds out that could spread to the ones that they could compost.
Yeah.
But then previously they were going to Henderson concourse.
Yeah. So with the with Cody dieback, obviously the Waitākere Ranges sits within the Cody dieback control area. So the movement of soil is not ideal, and weeds have soil. So moving the soil with the weeds out of the Waitākere Ranges means that we need to contain it best we can. So these weeds don't actually go to a local landfill, they actually get shipped all the way up to a contaminated waste landfill in Silverdale, and they're actually buried in the bag. So the weeds are now buried in the bag. So just so that you're all aware, that's where our weeds are actually going. And so anyway, I just wanted to show you a few slides about the bins and what sort of waste goes in them. They do get very well used, and they are often used for exactly what target weeds we want them to be used for. But with the fact that they get buried in the bags, they also get buried with all the green waste. If you can see the very nice lush leaves there that don't have any seed heads and don't have any roots. The thing is that it would be really great to be able to get a message out there that those sorts of things don't really need to go in these bins. They are the right sort of things. There's lots of ginger there, but there's some seed heads in there, but all the lush green waste can actually be left on the ground in situ, where the weeds are being taken away from, so that it doesn't fill up the bin and get buried all the way up in another area because it's contaminated. So the ideal thing would be to encourage everybody to only put the parts of the plants that actually need to go in the bin, which would be seed heads and roots. That's pretty much the only things that really need to go in the bins. So these are just photos that I've taken while I've been working with the bins. So I actually visit the sites on, say, a Monday morning and see how they're going and see what's there and clean the sites up and actually cover the bins over. They have to be fully covered and fully taped over, so that basically when they're transported by the bin company, nothing can get out. So that can be quite a timely job as well. You actually have to do a lot of work for that. So, but just as you can see, that's just in the bin, and most of that is just compostable ginger green stems. There's not a lot of other things there. So that's a weed bin down at Huia Domain, fully covered and ready to go. We do get a lot of issues as well with bins that are covered. We put notes on them, handwritten notes, to try and encourage people not to, put more waste on top of it, because there is a little bit of time between covering the bin and then the bin being collected, and then somebody might just turn up with a trailer load of stuff and then put it on top, which then creates another problem of soil movement when the bin's moved. So that kind of waste actually has to be totally pulled off the bin and left on the ground until the next bin comes along. So yeah, so the complexities with putting plastic into a bin as well is, I might be talking a lot about the plastic, but just so you know that those bin liners aren't easy to put in a bin either. When it's windy, it's quite impossible. You've got this massive big bin liner going everywhere. When it's raining, it doesn't stay down because you actually have to tape it to the sides of the bins. So when it's windy, when it's wet, it's not ideal. You might have to stay on site, and it's all time and it's all money as well. So it costs a lot now to run these bins. So it would be ideal to have the bins and encourage people to, work out other ways to deal with their waste. I mean, as a community, we've been doing it with our own rubbish. We've been doing it with our recycling. We now do things in different ways than we used to. It would be great if we could potentially think about other ways of doing things with our weeds in the same fashion, basically. I don't know about you guys, but say I don't use Gladwrap. I haven't done for years now. Used to use Gladwrap, but have changed, So used to use a takeaway cup. Don't do that anymore. used to throw my weeds in a weed bin. maybe some of it doesn't need to be done anymore. So that's the time. Yeah. Anyway, I'll get on. So yeah, lovely gentleman brought all his ginger down. So that trailer was absolutely chocker. So that's one person putting a lot of waste into the bin, of which about 80% could have been left at home. So again, a whole woolly nightshade tree, so a whole tree got brought down. We're not at the bins, so we can't see them all the time. We do have staff todays, so but generally we're not at the bins. That's a really big stretched photo, so it makes it look really bad. But there's native plants in there. There's native tree trunks, and but yeah. So and that's just some waste that we deal with. For instance, after the bin's removed, then we have to deal with that. So and that can be from an amnesty site where it's only there for the weekend. So then we have to engage with Auckland Council to get them to pick up waste in public spaces. So, but anyway, here's a lovely photo of a weed bag, which is it has had Tradescantia put in it. Now, just quickly, sorry, Pam, I'm almost there. 3 of the most popular weeds that go in the bins are ginger, Tradescantia. People bring trailer loads and bags and bags and bags of Tradescantia down. Now, Tradescantia doesn't create seed. It's very, very easily composted in, say, a black trad bag in a nice sunny spot, and then it rots down into compost. That bag there, 6 months old. So we turned that the other day, and that's pretty much ready to go, almost go back onto the ground. And it doesn't need to go anywhere near a weed bin. And that way, we're not moving any soil or any